Oh wow, whoops. I just realized that I didn't explain the win conditions and more intricate combos behind my Morphtronic OTK deck. That's bad Yu-Gi-Ohs. Why didn't you guys call me out on that? It should have been the first video I put up after the deck profile. Sorry. Let's hop into those things now. Morphtronics debuted in Crossroads of Chaos, but they didn't really have many cards until Crimson Crisis came along. At that point, the deck received its first primitive win condition, which in a nutshell boils down to get 4 cards and you win. A field of Selphon, Borden, Boomboxen, and Radian results in exactly 8,000 attack, all directly. Here's the math for those of you who care. If your opponent does not have a back row, they're done. Not even Gores or Tragodia is going to stop you. Battle Fader will, and that's a bitch, but we'll deal with it when the time comes. Probably Side Mind Crush or something. Anyway, this combination is actually very flexible, and cards in it are easily interchanged with other cards, especially with all the great support options that came along in Raging Battle. Junkbox is effectively any Morphtronic monster of choice, provided they're in the graveyard. 1 for 1 is a double whammy. It sets up Junkbox while grabbing Selphon, both of which put more dudes on the table. Scopin, as love-hate as I am with it, can help Swarm for a win at times. Dipping into old cards, we have the obvious limiter removal, which works in tandem with any Morphtronic that's worth main decking except Radian. They knew Radian would be way too good if it was a machine. Boomboxen with limiter removal is just... United We Stand is a very feasible option for the deck that easily puts an additional 2,400 or more attack on the table, which is all the more redonkulous with Boomboxen, who multiplies that by 2. Monster Gate is an amazing option as well, as it helps regulate a clogged field and trade in a dead Morphtronic for a different Morphtronic that hopefully will help you push for game. Machine Duplication is obviously incredible since it can let you fire off multiple Selphons or Remotons to get your cards in order, get the field all there. I'd probably have to sit here for several hours to be able to explain every last combination of cards that can lead to victory, so I'm not going to bother doing that. I'll assume you all are bright enough to see what works. What I will do, however, is point out the inherent weaknesses of the deck so you get an idea of what to watch out for. Morphtronics have very potent combos. That much is undeniable, but the deck is also very dependent on those combos. If it can't get them off the ground, it's going to lose really fast, because each individual card is not worth much by itself. That being said, every summon matters. If your opponent is packing cards like Royal Oppression, Future Visions, Bottomless Trap Hole, or whatever, you're going to get slowed down a lot, and the deck will probably crumble unless you have outs to said cards. The deck really loves its graveyard. If things never hit the grave, you start running into trouble, so Macrocosmos can be a problem. Every effect matters as well. If you can't make use of the effects of your monsters, the deck dies because you lose all of your muscles. Skill Drain is a very crippling enemy. If you can't make use of your spells, the deck also dies because you can't assemble your winning field. Cold Wave is the scariest thing ever. And Anti-Spell Fragrance is an ass too. Grr. With all that in mind, it's very important to be packing things like Heavy Storm, Giant Trunade, Mystical Space Typhoon, Dust Tornado, Solemn Judgment, and perhaps even Trap Stun. so you can make sure your opponent's back row never messes up your plans. Cold Wave, you can't really do much about, but it's limited and not many decks use it, so I wouldn't worry too much. I'm still fiddling around with numbers of each individual card in the deck to get the best ratio of level 4s, tuners, back row hate, and all that, but I'm confident that once I get it all worked out, I'll have a very scary deck for locals at the very least. Morphtronics will probably never do very well on the regional level because they lack the ability to control the field. But, oh well. You win some, you lose some. Oh yeah, before I forget, there's one other combo that leads to victory for this deck, and it doesn't even require any Morphtronics in the final swing. I mentioned in the deck profile that this involves Armory Arm and Colossal Fighter, but I didn't explain it at the time, so here we go. Your opponent has to have no way to stop you, so clearing out their spells and traps is usually essential. Your opponent must also control a monster with 1900 or more attack, and there must be no warriors in either graveyard. If there are, the opponent's monster has to have 100 additional attack for each warrior. Anyhow, if these conditions are met, proceed to Synchro Summon both Colossal Fighter and Armory Arm. Use Armory Arm's effect to equip it to the opponent's monster with 1900 or more attack. Since you are the controller of Armory Arm, your opponent will take damage if the equipped monster destroys something in battle and sends it to the graveyard. See where this is going? Have Colossal Fighter suicide into the opponent's monster. You'll take some minor damage while your opponent takes 2800 for Armory Arm's effect. On top of that, you can have Colossal Fighter revive itself. And since it's a new monster, you can proceed to have it attack the opponent's monster again, dealing more burn damage via Armory Arm until you win. It's rather ingenious, and I must say I wish I thought of it myself. That's all for today. Later, guys.